What's up, everybody? As I mentioned, I'm going to be starting to post regular videos concerning mountaineering, as well as how I'm gearing up for the upcoming Aconcagua expedition that I'll be taking in this December to mid-January. This is, for me, a pivotal stepping stone in my long-term goal of one day climbing Denali. I've actually had a few people reach out to me that I've known for a long time, asking me questions about how can you get into mountaineering. So I apologize for the setting. We are in my dingy, dark basement, but I feel like it's an appropriate setting because if you're into mountaineering, you're gonna be storing stuff in your basement. I'll be going over training as well as equipment and some of the gear, as well as the process of how I'm putting a lot of that together. Some of the stuff, I actually have a few items I still have to get between now and December when I depart for the expedition. So again, even if you're not interested in becoming a mountaineer or learning about how to do mountaineering, hopefully this will be positive information for you to learn more about what mountaineering takes. I'm a relatively average guy. You know, in terms of my fitness level in the military, I think I was pretty fit, but there were certainly some studs that were tremendously more physical specimens, and they ran better, you know, they were stronger, they did more pull-ups. And so, as well as like my intelligence is very average. I think I'm a smart guy, but you know, I'm not an exceptional I don't have an exceptional memory. I don't have exceptional inept fortitude to sort of learn this stuff. I'm just very interested in it, so I kept practicing it over and over and over. So I guess I'll start with the training, and there's going to be a couple videos on this, but I'll just give you an update on like what I'm doing right now. So right now I'm currently working on building my aerobic base, and there's a great organization with tons of podcasts out there called Evoke Endurance. It's started by a guy named Scott Johnston, who actually wrote a book called Training for the New Alpinism, which has been the building block for a lot of other training methodologies within mountaineering. He's actually written a couple books that are all really useful information, but they also offer a lot of free information as well in regards to their podcasts. I actually bought one of their 12-week plans, and I've cycled it a few times leading up to Rainier. And one of the things that they talk about that I'm focusing on right now is building your aerobic base. So very quickly about me, I come from a powerlifting background. If you scroll down to like my old videos on like squatting, I was a 500+ pound squatter. I wasn't a very good bench presser, and I was a 545 pound deadlifter, was like the best I ever did hook grip. And I was very proud of those numbers, but again, like all things, I certainly wasn't a competitive powerlifter. But at the very least, I had to make a dramatic shift when I started focusing on mountaineering to get into, because it's an aerobic and endurance sport. And the things you do in mountaineering is, you know, you'll be hiking and walking for uphill most of the time, or downhill for long periods of time. And in order to do that, you have to have an aerobic base, and then you also need to have something called muscular endurance, which is where you can carry the heavy loads that are necessary on your back and in your pack, and maybe even a sled to handle the sort of mountaineering objectives, whether that's caching things for the day, and I'll explain what a lot of that stuff is. So right now, I am building my aerobic base, and the way I do that is I am running a lot of zone 2 training, which basically means that I'm running at a pace where my heart rate is not incredibly elevated. The simplest way I can break it down is you should be running at a slow pace to where you can maintain a very easy conversation for different durations of time. I, as a busy guy with a full-time job, I got 2 kids, I also am in school. Sometimes I'm doing that really late at night after the kids go to bed. Sometimes I'm doing that sort of earlier, even on my lunch break. And you know, sometimes I can only fit an hour in. And what I'll do is I'll put a timer on, run out to a certain distance. My timer goes off, I run back, and that keeps me sort of honest in terms of fitting that window of time into hitting that training objective. So I'm basically doing very slow running right now while I'm building my aerobic base. I'll then jump into, in about a month, a more strategic, specific mountaineering program, which will include things like heavy weighted carries, some lifts. If you are really not particularly strong and you come from a really strong aerobic base background, then you might want to focus more on building the muscular strength to be able to handle carrying a heavy pack. But for right now, for someone like me who does have a lot of strength built up over 15 years of strength training, I actually really need to focus more on the aerobic endurance side of it. So that's why I'm doing that zone 2 training. The zone 2 training, what's really good about it is the way that Evoke Endurance has talked through it is they said you're starting to put money in the bank for your fitness objectives. So you're putting your endurance money in the bank so that you can draw from that later And that's slowly what I'm doing. And I've been doing that since I came off Rainier, just running these long runs, hopefully trying to drop a few pounds while I lead into the next expedition. So 3 months out, I'll do like a more specific mountaineering training so that I'm peaking as I go to that expedition.